The 43 Republican senators who blocked the conviction of Donald Trump for the high crime of inciting an insurrection to overturn the result of the 2020 election refused, for reasons of ideological delusion and blind partisanship, to hold a guilty man to account. Despite the Senate Minority Leader Moscow Mitch's pathetic attempt to suggest otherwise, in one of the most intellectually dishonest speeches ever delivered in a chamber that has considerable experience of intellectual dishonesty anyway, the senators who sided with Trump are now every bit as guilty as the seditious former squatter to whom they sold their political souls to, and every bit as deserving of electoral rejection. And for that to happen, however, Democrats must recognize the genius of impeachment, and that the impeachment of a former squatter occurs on two levels. There is a formal process that occurs in the House and the Senate, and then there is the informal process of indicted an errant squatter and his defenders in the eyes of the American people. An impeachment that stands for what's right can actually build power even if we don't ultimately find the person guilty, says the Reverend William Barber II. But we better know our history. History tells us this much. The impeachment does not have to conclude with a conviction, or even a Senate trial, to matter. They can continue for so long as the people demand accountability. The fight simply moves from the Capitol to the polling place, as it did in 1974 when Richard Nixon quit the White House and avoided a House impeachment vote and Senate trial, only to see Republicans lose 4 Senate seats and 48 House seats. The 1974 election results remind us that one of the vital aspects of any meaningful impeachment is the extension of the indictment beyond the squatter who has committed the specific high crimes, to include those members of Congress who engage in the high crime of defending a guilty man. The key is to recognize that a process that may not bring accountability in the Capitol can do so at the ballot box. Voters in 2022, 2024, and 2026 can and should punish all 43 Republican senators who now make up the chamber's sedition caucus. A few of the senators who protect Trump will avoid political justice by choosing not to run again, and the rest must face an electoral reckoning. In some states, the work has already begun. A billboard outside Wisconsin, Senator Ron Johnson's hometown, identifies the Trump-aligned Republican as treasonous Johnson and stamps the word resign across his face. It was erected by an Outagamie County Executive Tom Nelson, one of a number of Democrats who are preparing to challenge the incumbent. The trial may be over, but we will not forget this, Nelson said on Saturday. The billboard I put up is a reminder that Ron Johnson should be held accountable for today's vote and his traitorous action. He should resign, and if he doesn't, I'll be the one to beat him in 2022. Hopefully. In Missouri, Democrat Scott Sifton launched his challenge to Senator Roy Blunt, the chair of the Republican Policy Committee. With the double-pronged assault on Blunt and the state's most controversial Trump sycophant, Senator Josh Hawley. A former legislator, Sifton produced a powerful video that opens with an image of Hawley raising his fist in solidarity with the fascist mob that was also preparing to storm the Capitol on January 6. When he raised his fist and betrayed our democracy, Josh Hawley showed us who he really is. And when Senator Blunt was too weak to stand up to his party's lies, he showed us who he is too, said Sifton. So next year, when the Senate seat is on the ballot, we the people of Missouri need to show who we fucking really are. Nelson and Sifton are doing it right. So is the Florida Democratic Party, which ripped into Republican Senator Marco Rubio, who embarrassed himself during the trial by floating the delusional suggestion that if Trump were convicted as an immediately former squatter, then Hillary Clinton should be impeached as a distantly former Secretary of State. Florida Democratic Party Chair Manny Diaz argued that Rubio had declared open season on our democracy by voting to condone an insurrectionist act on our government, an attack unquestionably incited by Donald Trump himself. Along with the state's other Republican senator, Rick Scott Diaz, said that Rubio had pledged loyalty to Trump above the duty to our country and the constitutional oath that they swore to uphold before God. That's the proper stance. Democrats should not fall for McConnell's empty talk of unity and bipartisanship. They should not move on from what happened on January 6th, and they should not forgive and forget the votes of senators who refused to convict an insurrectionist who cheered on an attack on the Senate itself. Historical memory is powerful, and it should be channeled toward a politics of accountability that can strengthen the hand of challengers to Trump's Republicans. As many as 15 Republican senators who sided with Trump may be on the ballot in 2022. But several of them were potentially vulnerable before the impeachment trial, including Iowa's Chuck Grassley, Kentucky's Rand Paul, and the first-timers, such as Indiana's Todd Young. Their blind loyalty to Trump should make them even more vulnerable to seek new terms. But on top of any list of vulnerable Republicans is Ron Johnson, like the Missouri Senator Hawley and Texas Senator Ted Cruz, both of whom are serving terms that can run through the 2024 election. But Johnson positioned himself during the impeachment trial as a belligerent Trump loyalist. On Saturday, the Wisconsinite yelled at fellow Republicans, Utah Senator Mitt Romney, for voting to hear witnesses. After that clash, Johnson complained that hearing the facts would only inflame the situation and screeched, "We should never have had this impeachment trial. It's just like opening up a room and just rubbing salt in it." On Monday, he tried to explain away his vote by questioning the seriousness of the attack on the Capitol, telling the Wisconsin right-wing radio host that this didn't seem like an insurrection to me, and it was anyway. Why was Johnson so determined to downplay the violence that shocked the world on January 6th? And why was he so fucking aggressive in seeking to block witnesses and avert accountability? Because the senator knew that an honest examination of Trump's guilt would shed light on his own culpability as an insider of the insurrection. But in December, when he still chaired the Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee, Johnson had fed the hysteria that culminated in the attack on the Capitol by organizing a hearing that entertained the most outrageous of the lies that Trump was promoting with regard to the election. But since then, Johnson has continued to peddle conspiracy theories, speculating before the trial that Democrats were impeaching Trump in order to divert attention from the House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's supposed blame for the deadly riot. She had nothing to do with it. The senator offered no evidence to support his claim about the California Democrat who was the target of the insurrectionists. Yet he asked, is this another diversionary operation? Is this meant to deflect away from potentially what the Speaker knew and when she knew it? And Representative Johnson concluded, I don't know, but I'm suspicious. I'm suspicious about your bullshit. What was suspicious was the senator's ludicrous speculation. The same can be said of his claim that the Democrats were guilty of mounting a vindictive and divisive political impeachment that got in the way of healing. By Johnson's standard, no political figure would ever be held to account, not even for inciting the deadly violence. But Johnson and the other 42 Republicans who oppose accountability now want to move on, but voters should never forget that these Republican senators refuse to respect the essential calculus of the Constitution. But the lead impeachment manager, Representative Jamie Raskin, laid out that calculus. Our framers were so fearful of any president or squatter becoming tyrants and wanting to become kings that they put the oath of office into the Constitution. They inscribed it into the Constitution to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, something that Trump never did. While the founders hoped that the oath would inspire honorable leaders to faithfully execute the office of the President of the United States, Raskin explained, they were not so naive as to imagine a future in which only the honorable would occupy the Oval Office, so they awarded police and authority to the Congress. And we got power to impeach the president, but the president, we got the power to impeach the president or squatter, but the squatter or president doesn't have the power to impeach us. But think about that. The popular branch of government has the power to impeach the squatter or president, and the squatter or president does not have the power to impeach us, said Raskin, continuing, but all of us who aspire to and attain a public office are nothing but the servants of the people. And the way the framers would have it is the moment that we no longer act as servants of the people, but as masters of the people, as violators of the people's rights, that is the time to impeach, remove, convict, disqualify, start all over again. Because the interests of the people are so much greater than the interest of one person. And any one person, even the greatest person in the country, the interests of that people are what counts. But 43 Republicans rejected the sacred equation in order to serve Donald Trump, and they saved Trump from accountability, but accountability is still needed, and it still is possible if the people's votes counts. But that's if the people's votes count against Ron Johnson and the members of the Republican Senate Sedition caucus.